dangerous large carnivore out there.
And I saw that bird pick a young deer off the road and fly away.
And it was just about getting dark, and we started panicking, running down this ridge, not really having any clue what was throwing rocks in our vicinity, good-sized rocks. And I stopped long enough to get a .357 out of my backpack and looked back, and that's when I saw it. I saw one.
For a week, the town of Defiance was being harassed by a werewolf, and it's actually attacked two railroad workers, killed livestock. You know, just a lot of weird stuff that was going on.
Good evening, Monster Xers. This is Gunnar Monson, one of your hosts for Monster X Radio, and I am also the founder of Sasquatch Coffee Company. Sasquatch Coffee, have you tried it yet? You can check us out at www.squatchcoffee.com. And just in time for Christmas season, we have gift baskets that include free shipping, so check it out. All right, with me today, as always, is my good friend and fellow Bigfoot researcher, Shane Hardcore Corson. Shane, can you hear me?
I hope so. I can hear you, yeah.
Good. We were having it was a little bit of a rush there at the end, technical difficulties, but we made it work, so the show must go on. How are you today, my friend?
It'll fall right in with Pacific NorthWEIRD with Tyler Bounds. That we're having some weird stuff go on here, but yeah.
But we managed to work it out. So, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Just got back. Busy day. You know, last night obviously we're at our Tillamook Forest Bigfoot holiday party, which was a blast. I had a great time there, and got up this morning and headed out to Tillamook and retrieved a camera and was checking out a recent report from that area. Got to meet some new people, and so I am very happy right now.
All right, good. A happy Bigfoot researcher. So, yeah, there was some interesting stuff. We had, like, really extreme weather this last week here in Oregon, and I think the report you were checking out had something to do with that, didn't it?
It did. There was an area down there in the Tillamook in the forest down there that, like you said, the weather, we went through a dry spell down there, and a lot of the rivers were extremely low. And just recently, we've just gotten absolutely inundated with rain, and the rivers are all flooding. They're messed up. And one of the reports from this area, from a group of people living around this area, were that they were getting, calls and things smashing trees and breaking branches and knocking around, and some of these folk are fairly familiar with the topic of Sasquatch because they lived there their whole lives and have had experiences and whatnot. And so they said that since the floods and the rains have came in and the rivers are all blown out, that they've experienced a lot of activity or possible Bigfoot activity. They don't know what else it could be around some of their houses and whatnot. And it's an area that is known for its possible Bigfoot activity. And so I had to head down there and check it out, and it was well worth the trip. I'm going to do some follow-up down there, or we will do some follow-up down there for sure in this area. And it's not too far away from where we generally do our research, actually. I mean, it's crow flies, it's nothing really, and it's a really Tillamook National. I mean, the forest it's very temperate, throughout the year, and so it's very hospitable to all life, including us humans. It does get cold and there's snow in some of the peaks, but overall it's very hospitable. And this area down where I was looking at today is it's a little bit warmer than some of the areas that we research. So it makes a lot of sense that if there is a Sasquatch in that area, possibly that they would be down in that area, and maybe a little ticked off that the rivers are so high.
Interrupting their passage back and forth from north to south. I don't know. It's interesting that the activity corresponded with the extreme rain and wind and actually a lot of slide. We had a lot of landslides and stuff. So I always wonder what the connection is there. So, but it's interesting.
I was picking up a cam today, a game cam, and two of the roads that I would usually, some of these logging roads I would usually take to get to an area, I had to actually hike in further than I usually would, just for the fact that there were full-size trees blown over because of, with the dryness. I think some of these trees have died, and then now we've got all this wet, wintry weather and the wind, and these trees, I mean, we're, 16-plus inch, trees around, circumference. I mean, huge, big trees too, just right over the roads. I couldn't, I didn't bring a chainsaw or anything, and so it was okay. Well, park here and hike this way. So.
Yeah, the weather. I mean, it's been nuts. So, but it always makes me. It's interesting because that area that you're talking about is kind of a little enclave on that, because the areas to the east and west of it aren't really inhabited. I mean, there's not a lot of housing along that area, but that little area there is. So, and there's been, like you said, it does have a history of course, it takes two things to have a Bigfoot encounter, a Bigfoot and a person.
Right, and it's an area that Peter Byrne has studied well, and in fact, he has been out to this area. He's Peter Byrne is not a spring chicken, but he still gets out there, and I know that he was out in this area recently due to some of these reports. So, how cool is that?
Very cool. So, well, without further ado, last week we had our friend Tyler Bounds on, and the show went by so fast that we didn't get to get into everything that we wanted to talk to Tyler about, so he graciously agreed to come back this week and do a follow-up show. So thank you, Tyler, and I know that he's on the line here, so, and I think that he has brought a friend with him today. So, without further ado, let's bring on Tyler. Tyler, are you there?
Hey there, fellers. I am here.
Doing? Vince, are you here?
I'm doing okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There's Vince.
Okay, we're good to go. So go ahead, Tyler.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Am I starting?
I thought you were starting to say something there.
Oh no, I just said Vince. I heard Vince's voice. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Tyler, for coming back this week. It was one of my favorite shows, and the time went by so fast that we did not get to go, and cover everything that we wanted to cover. I know that we talked a lot about your experience, how you got into Bigfooting and the whole nine there. I just used Shane's phrase, the whole nine, and and your experiences with working on finding Bigfoot, and so this week I think is there more Bigfoot stuff that you wanted to talk about today before we get started into your latest endeavor?
Well, actually, I do have an addendum from last week, and how I mentioned how I got into this whole thing. You know, I was out with my grandfather and, you know, went on a hike and so on and so forth, and saw a couple Bigfoots, a big one and a little one, and cast some footprints and that sort of thing. And how I was mystified by that whole experience. And something that I found out last August when I was down in Ashland, Oregon, for my grandmother's funeral, and my aunt was asking me, she said, "So how did you get into this whole Bigfoot thing anyways?" And I said, "Well, you know, I was out with Grandpa, and I was on a hike, and, you know, saw the Bigfoot and cast the footprints." And she just said, "Oh, honey. Oh, honey." And I'm like, "What? No, wait, what?" She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was instantly like, "Don't tell me that Grandpa had somebody, you know, dress up in suits or whatever and to go out and screw with, you know, mess with his Boy Scout troop." And she just patted me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." So that was pretty mind-blowing. I wanted to get to that last week, but then we kind of moved on, and it's still kind of hard for me to get my head around, because that was really the impetus for everything that I've been involved in. So to learn that, you know, whether there was a real interest on my grandfather's part, you know, because that doesn't really explain all the footprint casts, or maybe it does, you know, maybe he did that quite often. But I got duped. I got completely duped, and
Wow.
have been repeating that story for, you know, 40-something years, and, you know, to find out that, no, it wasn't, you know, "Oh, honey, I'm sorry." And I immediately, I mean, as soon as I heard that, or was told that, I went and called Cliff, and I'm like, "Guess what I just found out? You know, this is totally lame." He's like, "Yeah, but you've had other experiences, and, you know, you've seen this and heard that and found this and found that." I'm like, "Yeah, but this was, you know, the foundation that everything was built on, you know, my unwavering belief, and, you know, to have that whole thing kind of pulled out from underneath me was really, it really kind of rocked me." And you know, so I guess the moral of the story is
Don't
basically,
believe
you know,
grandfather.
don't believe my grandfather, and you know, and he basically, you know, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying last week as well, you know, when I'm interviewing witnesses and people, and how you always have to have, you know, we call them our skepticals on, and no matter how legit it sounds, no matter how, you know, genuine it sounds, it could, you know, it could be somebody pulling the wool over your eyes. And, you know, so that was kind of a lesson, like, everybody I've talked to, you know, question everything that you're told, everything that is supposedly set in stone isn't. And, you know, so it really made me rethink where I came from, where I was coming from. But like Cliff told me, and like my producer on Finding Bigfoot told me, he's like, "Yeah, but you've had other things happen." And yes, I have, but, you know, and it's, you know, that's still not, I can't say it's not, you know, 100%. You know, I can never say for sure, you know, this was what it was, that was what it was. You know, it was definitely Squatch. But I'm glad that we got to do a part 2, because after, you know, we were done last week, I'm like, man, you know, I should have said something. I should have followed up, you know, wow, amazing experience when you're 4 or 5 years old. And then, you know, when I'm 40-something years old, like, yeah, it's not so much of an amazing experience. It's, you know, probably the same thing has happened to lots of people over the years. And which also makes me wish that, man, I wish I did have those footprints, that he cast, and, were they real footprints? I mean, I'm sure they were real, but real Bigfoot footprints? Probably not. Were they just human, or when he was, when nobody was looking, was he, putting some impressions in the ground, like, there it is, I found a Bigfoot footprint, let's cast it, boys, and, and gives all these kids something to talk about for the rest of their lives and base their whole belief system on and go and dedicate their lives to and their jobs and give up. Yeah. Anyways. So,
wow. I mean, that is kind of a shocker, huh? I mean,
yeah, it's totally, yeah, I was pretty deflated, and, and she just kept, oh, honey, oh, honey, I'm sorry. Like, sorry, you just basically ruined my life, but hey, that's all right.
But did she elaborate any more on it? Any more on, how or why?
No. Well, somewhat. She said that, there were, he, on some of his Boy Scout trips, he had some buddies, some compadres somewhere that, I don't know if it was every time or if it was just for me or just because of the area that we were in. I don't think that he was out there hoaxing necessarily, trying to get information or attention or, trying to get in the newspaper or trying to lead people on a wild goose chase. I think it was just, something to basically mess with the scouts. And whether he told them later on, like, yeah, that was Joe Blow in a suit that, some dead animal skin that I dressed him up in, and, but I was a little tiny kid, I don't remember, the fog of time, and I've always tried to be real careful with that story because I was very young and small at the time, and, trying to, I don't want to get to the point where I've told the story so many times that it kind of takes on its own and I'm adding in more details that I didn't really see or that I thought I saw or thought I remembered or thought I should remember. So I've always, tried to, especially as, time went on, like, try to back off of it, a little bit. Like, I definitely, it definitely looked at me. It definitely did this. And so I really don't, I don't remember much about that when it happened. I remember it happening. I remember the footprints. I remember, I don't remember where I was or, who I was with besides my grandfather. And to his benefit, I doubt if he was out there, trying to lead people astray or, making footprints, down in Bluff Creek somewhere, like, haha, fooled all those guys. Which would be really terrible if it turns out that, yeah, my grandfather is the one that was behind, a bunch of footprints down in Bluff Creek. I would change my last name and go into hiding somewhere. And but at the same time, he's passed on, and luckily for him, because if he was still alive, he wouldn't be for long. So, trusty old guy. So, yeah, so that's, so that's that. And like I said, the moral of the story is, no matter how legit or, no matter what you think you saw or what you think you remember, we're all, really susceptible to being tricked, being fooled, trying to, or misremembering what we really think that we remember. And so, lesson learned.
Yeah.
And
well, Tyler, this speaks to your character hugely, because you didn't have to come on the show and you didn't have to mention that at all. And right. The audience, having listened to last week's episode, would have just gone on their merry way, thinking, you saw something really, truly legit. And speaks to your character, speaks to what you're about. You're not about falsehoods. You're about truth. And so kudos to you, and thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you, Shane. It's not, it wasn't easy. Like I said, that was a long drive from Ashland back to Washington. Just kind of feeling kind of fooled, tricked, not taken for a ride. I mean, my grandfather probably didn't know that that would become an obsession with mine, and years and years and years later, I'd be working on a show about Bigfoot and telling that story many times, over and over and over, and so it, I'm sure it wasn't his intention, I'm not sure it wasn't his intention, but I believe it wasn't his intention to, totally screw me up, and no wonder I have so many issues. What the hell?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Batman finding out that his parents faked their deaths.
Precisely. So,
well, the good thing that came out of the whole experience, though, is that it did push you in a direction to have an interest in Bigfoot. So it influenced you in being interested in other unusual stuff. So, I mean, that whole thing set you on a path now, where you have the friends that you have, and you had the experiences that you had. So, I mean, like you said, it probably wasn't in his intent to deceive you and rip your heart out 35 years later, but
right.
But a lot of good did come out of it. So that's, I mean.
Oh yeah.
We're happy that it happened to you. Because it benefited us to get to meet you on down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. So no regrets besides feeling just kind of tricked, but that's what happens, and I'm sure that it's happened to lots of other people, and and without them having the benefit later on of realizing or having somebody come clean, like, oh no, that was me, they just keep driving down the road at midnight, like, did you see that? What was that? And while some guys snickering up in the bushes, like, haha, those people are going to be talking about that for years, and so at least I have that benefit, and kind of having the air cleared, but at the same time, it doesn't take away from things that I have seen, found, heard, since then. But that was always kind of the base, the foundation that I rested everything else on. Like, even if this was, if I was wrong about this noise or these footprints or what I think I saw, in the woods around Mount Rainier, I always had this. Could always go back to this this happened when I was a little kid, and and then having that taken away, it's like, oh well, now I'm not so sure, and which is how it should be. We should never be sure unless we're sure, I guess, unless we're 100% positive. That's what I saw. It was right there. It was in my face. It was, I opened up my tent and it was right there. And
to take a line, well, someone posted in our chat room, but to take their line from the X-Files, question everything. Don't ever take anything at face value. Exactly. So, no regrets. I mean, I am where I am today, and like I said, I've met hundreds and hundreds of great people, and, other Bigfoot nerds who I count as among my best friends, Gunner, Shane, Vince. I mean, people that I would, go into the woods with. It's only in this hobby that, you can meet somebody through an email or a phone chat, like, hey, you want to go into the woods for 3 days? Yeah, I've never met you, and but hey, let's go do it. And so it, and it's you really get to know people, when you're out by yourselves in the dark and trying to chase down big hairy somethings, and so friends for life.
and it's, like I said, no regrets. I've had great experiences, great friends, great memories, and I even made some money along the way. So, bonus.
Yeah, fantastic. Speaking of Vince, who is this Vince guy, and what is Pacific NorthWEIRD? Tell our audience. Vince, who the heck are you?
Hi, I'm Vince Ingenza. And, I produce a YouTube series along with Tyler called Pacific NorthWEIRD. It's basically an homage to the weirdness of the Pacific Northwest. We include everything from the history of alien UFO sightings here, definitely Sasquatch, roadside attractions, eclectic celebrities, urban legends, weird history. We approach it in a documentary style, but we have like a definite sense of humor about it. I like to think of us as a cross between the X-Files, the Travel Channel, and Monty Python.
Very good, yeah.
And and that's pretty much it too. That's a very apt description.
Yeah, and have a lot of fun doing it. Myself and everyone involved in the show are Northwest natives, and we just have a real love for our home region, and have a blast just learning weird things about it, meeting amazing people. Met Tyler, through the show about a year ago, and get to travel to various beautiful spots along the coast and attend strange events. It's great.
So, how did this idea come to be, and how did you get Tyler involved in this whole thing? Where did you guys meet?
Oh, Tyler, do you want to touch on that?
Well, I was looking at a website called Zapatopi.com, and they have some great stuff on there. It's kind of a satire. It has stuff about Sasquatch, the Sasquatch Yeti Alliance, stuff about the Sasquatch Army. It's kind of a Pacific Northwest version of the Onion, kind of. He has whole articles about the Pacific tree octopus that he totally made up. It sounds legit. I've read online where people have actually gone online like, Pacific tree octopus, and done like whole, high school science fair projects on it without even knowing that there is no such thing as the Pacific tree octopus. And I was on there browsing or something, and there was an episode. He had a link to an episode of this show called Pacific NorthWEIRD that was about the Mima Mounds, which is an area here near Olympia where there's a bunch of unexplained mounds. They don't know what it is, underground trolls, pocket gophers, UFOs, ancient civilizations. There's all sorts of theories. And at the time I was down from the show and from finding Bigfoot. And I'm like, I watched the video and it was hilarious and cracked me up. And I'm like, and I had just moved to Olympia, Washington, not long before that. And I'm like, man, these guys are funny and they're from Olympia, and maybe I could hit them up and say, hey, I know how to work a camera, and I worked on this little show about Bigfoots, and maybe I can contribute something, or maybe just watch, because I was totally thinking that, there's going to be, like maybe a crew and, some professionalism, and there was neither. And which was great, perfect. I had exactly what I wanted. So we, I sent him an email or message him or something via Facebook or somewhere and said, hey, this is what I do, what I've done, and, can I play? And so we met up in Olympia, talked about this and that, and said, hey, we're going to go out to the coast and film a thing about a UFO that supposedly crashed out there. And, you want to come along and hold the camera and help out and do this and do that. And, did it. And it was fun. And, we're all definitely, like I said, we're all Pacific Northwest, natives, born and bred, and he and his other comrade, Alexandra, they are, both, they were both sufficiently weird enough to make me want to keep coming back and doing it, and it's the good kind of weird, not the bad kind of weird, like that. Yeah, those guys are kind of freaky, and I'm going to have nightmares tonight. It was, no, I can hang out with these people, even when we're not filming. We can hang out, we can talk,
and you have pleasant dreams about us.
And, and it's just kind of exploded from there. And we've got better at what we're doing. Vince is an amazing filmmaker, editing. Through his contacts and through his occupation, he's been able to get better gear and access to TV studios and whatnot. So we're actually like almost on the precipice, on the brink of being like legitimately professional, or maybe I shouldn't get ahead of myself, but we're getting better. We're definitely better. We're more high tech, better equipment, and and every episode we do is funnier, it's weirder, it's nicer to look at, and I'm really proud of what I've been able to do with Vince and with the show, and it's and it's freaking, and it cracks me up every time. It's hilarious. I get so many comments from people like, dude, that show is funnier than shit, man. That is amazing. And like, sweet, because Vince is a weirdo, I'm a weirdo, we bounce out ideas off each other, and it's like nothing is too radical, nothing is too silly, nothing is too dumb, nothing is too risque, and Vince is ready to, throw out some dumb ideas, like, dude, that's great, but how it could be even dumber is if we do this. Oh, yeah, that's even better. Let's do that. And so, I've pranced around the streets of Olympia wearing a Kool-Aid Man costume. I've done unsavory things.
That was one of your finest moments.
I've actually, for years, I put on a Bigfoot costume one time before doing this Pacific NorthWEIRD thing, because, there's always kind of been that stigma, like, Bigfoot researcher with a Bigfoot suit in the trunk, you can't do that, it's against the rules. But now I put on this cheesy Bigfoot costume that kind of looks like a Bigfoot, but it's Bigfooty enough without, if I was running through the woods, somebody would be like, that's not a Bigfoot, that's a, there's not even a zipper, it's like just this open back thing with a gargoyle face, but it's,
they still
it gets
might
the message
shoot you,
across.
but they're not going to believe that you're a Bigfoot.
Right, yeah. So yeah, it's been great. I've got to dress up and play Bigfoot, play aliens, play Kool-Aid Man, interview sorcerers and UFO witnesses and crazy, weird people that we just meet randomly in bars, and
weird artists up in Everett.
Weird artists, paraplegics that are MMA fighters that, raising money to go climb Mount Hood, and the UFO ranch out by Mount Adams that I was like, okay, yeah, UFO ranch, and whoa, sun went down, it got dark, there was UFOs all over Mount Adams that we got on camera. There's stuff flying around and lights, and like, okay, all right, don't don't poo-poo anything until, that can never happen. Oh, whoa, look at that. It's happening. Okay, now what? And so that's basically my background on that and how I got involved. And I'll let Vince, talk about how it all started.
Yeah, well, kind of the way it started was I had started doing videos for a certain state organization that I work for, and the videos oftentimes were for commemorations and get-togethers and everything. And they kind of liked the weird creativity I had. And I decided to do this one commemoration video that was definitely covered everything I needed to cover work-wise, but it was also an homage to the show Twin Peaks, that I wanted to make the Pacific Northwest connection. And it ended up, everyone really liked it and everything, but I had to eventually take it down because too many people thought it was too weird. It was too much like Twin Peaks. It might make people uncomfortable. And I was kind of a little disappointed in all that work I put in. And then I realized, though, that I had so much fun putting all that work into it and kind of connecting with the Northwest, and just decided with my friend Alexandra that maybe we should make our own show that no one can tell us to pull the show down, We'll just put it on YouTube. And it just started off as a complete joke at first, kind of a hobby, and then we just started enjoying it more and more, and then, we get calls from people like Tyler, and then he teams up with us, and I realized I'm starting to get better at the editing and the filmmaking, and we're getting better equipment, and now it's becoming something I legitimately consider my actual job, even though I'm not making money off of it and everything. Like, I do all my normal adult things to fund this amazing adventure I get to take, every hour that I'm off of work, which is playing with this cool show.
It's funny because that's exactly how I consider what I do with research in Bigfoot, is that I spend a lot of money, I don't make any money, and I love the adventure, and get to meet cool people and do cool things and go to cool places and do something that's passionate. Would I like to make money at doing this? Sure. I would further my research. I'm sure the same could be said about what you're doing with Pacific NorthWEIRD, is that the shows would be more elaborate, bigger. You get to go more places, and so it sounds very similar to what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And as of now, who could ask for a better life? Just doing what you like. And,
Well said.
Vince, Gunner here. Are you concerned that you'll ever run out of weird things in the Pacific Northwest?
So far, no. Definitely at the rate that we're producing videos, we're taking a lot more care into our videos, and maybe we come up with maybe 2 every month and a half or something. And as of yet, I still, every time I do a little bit of research, I find out about something completely new I didn't know about, And I think it also comes down to a core idea behind our show, is it's always not so much about the topic. It's not so much we're working on a episode on Bigfoot right now. Our show's not so much about what is Bigfoot, or are we trying to prove its existence. The show's more about the people who kind of surround the subject matter, the cultural impact. And we never run out of interesting people, or people who devote their lives to certain strange things in the Northwest. So, no, I don't think...
We are the mecca for weirdness. We just are. The Pacific Northwest is, I've lived in Scotland, I've lived in San Diego, I'm in California. The Pacific Northwest is a strange place with strange people, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I feel blessed that I was lucky enough to be born here. I think it made me who I am, and made all my friends who they are.
Weird.
Well,
it's weird.
and how many areas have a city like Portland that their motto is "Keep Portland Weird"? So.
Yeah, we're trying to show the world how weird not only Portland is, but the rest of this whole wacky area in the world.
And we have so much. Yeah, we have so much stuff kind of on the back burner. Because there's so much. We'll get down. Since you went down to Portland and did the TARDIS room, but McMinnville UFO Festival, but there's so much. All you have to do is read the headlines, from any random day, and we could totally do an episode on that. That's crazy. Some new church that just sprung up, and let's go do that. And and plus, there's other. I think I mentioned it last weekend. But we just did our Christmas special, and with D.B. Cooper, hijacking Santa's sleigh and jumping out with all the toys and hijacking
a D.B. Cooper Christmas Carol.
Yeah, D.B. Cooper, exactly. And Bigfoot made an appearance. Other Northwest pseudo celebrities, and just kind of weird
people of infamy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so even when we don't have like a subject, we kind of make a subject. Vince is an incredibly creative and intelligent person that, hey, I have this idea to do a Christmas Carol, but with Pacific Northwest characters and outlaws and mythological, larger-than-life people. Heck yeah, dude, that's amazing. That's hilarious. Let's do it. And, so, I mean, there's always something, to tie everything in together. Twin Peaks was filmed here. They're filming here again. We have, there was a weird coincidence between, well, I'll let Vince tell the story, but, he was trying to get the website, civicnorthweird.com, and he contacted the woman who had that website, and and then that's going to lead into another episode. And you want to tell them about that weirdness?
Sure.
Vince?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. There's certainly like weird things that happen to us. Like Tyler was saying, half a year ago, I thought, it'd be cool if we had a PacificNorthWEIRD.com. So, I go to buy it from GoDaddy, and I see someone already owns it. So I follow the link, and it belongs to this author who lives in McMinnville, Oregon, which is also the site of the McMenamins UFO Festival, which is what originally inspired us to create this show. I mean, or got us, besides the Twin Peaks thing, it kind of gave us the energy to do it, So this woman's author page, it's not even called PacificNorthWEIRD.com, so that's kind of one of the ancillary keyword sites that she buys to lead people there. So I'm kind of curious, like, why would she call it that? And I contact her, and it turns out that Pacific North Weird is a name of a fictional show from a novel she wrote 6 years ago about a group of weirdos that travel around the Northwest and make little videos about weird things. So I'm like, wow, are we real? Are we just a figment of this woman's imagination? So now we're going to, do a little video project with her and kind of exchange for the .com. And, yeah, there's just plenty of – it's not only bizarre things that are established and out there. Like, we like to document – like you said, Gunnar, the Pacific Northwest is just weird. So, not only are there just weird things, there's also weird things that constantly happen. So we like to touch upon that too.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the weirdest and strangest and most compelling, possibly, things you guys have researched and gone out to film? The Mount Adams thing sounds very peculiar. What else have you guys done?
Well, we were contacted by some filmmakers who recently did a short film on the Maury Island incident. That's a lesser-known UFO incident that happened up near Des Moines, Washington in 1947. And long story short, the saucer that caught on fire in the air and crashed. And there's a lot of controversy behind the story, but it's also marks the first recorded instance of a man in black visiting someone. After they saw a UFO. So, these filmmakers contact us, and they're holding this secret event called Burning Saucer up outside of Maury Island, and they let us come up and document it, and it's this kind of weird pseudo-secret society, kind of tongue-in-cheek they do, and, they tell the story, and then they actually burn this huge saucer that's above this fire pit that they have. That was one of the more weirder but also more enjoyable excursions that, we didn't know anything about that event prior to doing the show, and having some experts reach out to us to pull us out there. We've met some really interesting artists. I would say Stephen Johnson Leyva up in the King County, Seattle area. He was really interesting to meet. He's known as the father of sexpressionism. He kind of just does like these bizarre carnal paintings, and very interesting guy, beautiful philosophy on what art should be, so we went and did an expose up on him and kind of he made some official Pacific NorthWEIRD art for us that we have hanging up in our office now.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, definitely Ramtha, doing the show about Ramtha was very interesting, getting to meet a few people involved in that, and a few shamans and spirit conjurers in their own right, giving their opinion on the claims of J.Z. Knight and her claim that she channels a 35,000-year-old Lemurian warrior spirit named Ramtha. Those are three of the weirder ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys, obviously you guys do a lot of your own research, and you're very knowledgeable on some of the weirdness up here. Do you guys get a lot of tidbits from fans and whatnot sending you stuff, and do you encourage that?
We do encourage it, and we're starting to get it more and more. As more people are getting onto our Facebook page, subscribing to our YouTube channel and whatnot. There's always people sending us articles, links to interesting community events that are fun. Like someone sent me a link to a thing called Squirrel Fest or something down in Longview, and it's a whole event devoted to squirrels and like building a squirrel bridge. So we love getting.
Sounds like something for Guy Edwards. If you know Guy Edwards, he does the Bigfoot Lunch Club, and he has a pet stuffed squirrel. I'm going to send him down there now.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of when Vince said when Vince said the Squirrel Fest. I'm like, oh, Guy, we need Guy in on that, and have him weigh in on that, and bring his what's his squirrel's name? I can't remember. What's his
Oh man, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's weird. Yeah, definitely.
Is her name Girl?
Something the office squirrel. I can't remember. Guy's probably listening. But there's definitely. there's no, like we were saying before. We went to this ranch out by Mount Adams, Trout Lake area, called the E-City Ranch, and it was bizarre. It was it's very kind of out there, kind of very esoteric, very kind of new agey. And we were getting a tour of the facilities and the premises by a guy, and he was telling us about a Bigfoot that he ran into. He was coming out of the laundry room and came face to face with a Bigfoot. Other people had seen the same Bigfoot, and then he proceeded to tell me and everyone else that he was like a 10th level Bigfoot. He could tell because of the color of it, and everybody knows that there's 12 levels of Bigfoot, starting with the little ones, the brown ones that everybody sees, up to the 12th level Bigfoots, which are known as Yetis, and they're white, and they get to Mount Adams by going through the earth, the hollow earth and the underground, whatever, and then they pop out at Mount Adams and then run around the City Ranch, and I'm like, okay, whatever, dude, yeah, right. And so the whole weekend I have an open mind, but not so open that my brain falls out. So I'm just like, okay, and they're talking about Bigfoot this and Bigfoot that, and I never mentioned, hey, I work on a show about Bigfoot, and I'm kind of a quote unquote expert on what you're trying to feed me here. But I just kind of let it go, because I've already heard, I've heard tons of stuff. We've all heard tons of stuff. Bigfoot, comes out of whatever dimension and comes through the portal and, cloaks and disappears, and after he mind melds with us and whatever. So I wasn't like, whoa, shocking, It was like, oh, another one of those guys. And so, it was an interesting weekend. And then, when it came to night, they go out in this field. They're all facing the volcano. And they have big lights and lasers, so they can communicate with the spaceships, the spacecraft that are flying overhead. And I'm just like, whatever, I'm here to film. I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm not here to, tell them, hey, you guys are crazy, because obviously I'm there. So, how how crazy does that make me? So, but, once shit started flying around there at the top of the mountain, like, oh, there's one. And I'm like, yeah, but, whoa, dude, there is. Wow, hey, do you guys see this? Are you guys seeing this? And, like, yeah, we're seeing it. I mean, cameras are rolling, and we've got, people freaking out. People go out there every weekend. They pay however much money to go out there and camp and sit in a field watching the mountain with their laser pointers, and communicating and watching, and it was crazy. It was, I've seen weird things in the sky, and I'm totally open to, extraterrestrials, and of course, there's other life in the universe. Is it coming here? I don't know. Why would they come here? Why are we interesting? But there was definitely stuff happening on that mountain, and it was pretty bizarre for me, being the skeptical, science-minded. There's an explanation behind everything, and I can't explain that. And
well, that's kind of the root of being interested in science to begin with. It's seeing something that you can't explain, and then you're curious, you're interested in it. That's
right.
Kind of getting back to the roots of it.
Exactly. So
yeah,
absolutely. There's definitely, there's no shortage of just last week, Vince and I were hanging out at a bar talking about whatever we were talking about, and I happened to talk to this woman. I've been looking for new rain gear because it's been raining, as you guys know. Pacific Northwest is drenched right now. And looking for new rain gear for work, and she was wearing some stuff that I've kind of looked at, so I started talking to her. And then, then she came back, whatever, and we started talking some more. And, yeah, we work on this. We do this little show, Pacific NorthWEIRD. Oh, let me tell you a story. And it went from she saw a UFO to she had a weird implant in her neck that she pulled out herself, and a weird little metal pyramid with hieroglyphics and designs on it to premonitions of 9/11 and premonitions of the Oklahoma City bombing. And we were just talking about rain gear. We were talking about rain gear. Hey, does it keep you dry? And an hour later, she's like, oh yeah, I had, I had a lost time incident. Saw this UFO. Don't know what happened. Then I had this thing in my neck, and I pulled it out, and it's like, okay, yeah, there's more material. It just happens all the time, whether...
To be fair, that's a pretty normal happy hour for you and I.
True that.
What other cryptids have you guys looked into other than Sasquatch? Have you guys done any other shows on, other cryptids, that are unique maybe here to the Pacific Northwest?
I haven't yet, but I've been very, very interested in learning more about some of the lake and sea monsters that have been reported in the area. That it's one. Yeah. From where I come from, I just originally, before I started doing the show, I knew a whole lot more about kind of the UFO history and kind of the roadside attraction history and everything. Less about Bigfoot and cryptids and everything. Always had a fascination with it, but yeah, I think nothing besides Bigfoot yet, but definitely want to know more about the sea monsters. That seems like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, they have pretty well known up in this area, all the way up to Alaska, and I think even believe Northern California is the Cadborosaurus, or Caddy, as it's called, and it's spotted periodically. And I'm a Bigfoot guy, but I find Caddy pretty interesting based on a number of sightings and historical, even back to the Native Americans. Same thing with Bigfoot, but Native Americans reported seeing this Caddy or Cadborosaurus thing.
Exactly. And there's Ogopogo, up in British Columbia, in I forget, Lake Okanagan, I think, up in British Columbia. There's Ogopogo. There's supposedly something that lives in Lake Chelan over in central Washington. There's lots of books. There's a book called, I think, Weird Northwest, or
there's all the weird states.
Like yeah. And there's something about kind of somewhere right here around Olympia. They called it some sort of demon or something, and it hopped around and flew, and like, wow, it sounds like typical like Mothman or Jersey Devil.
Are you talking about Bat Squatch?
Oh, there's always Bat Squatch as well.
Bat Squatch.
And don't forget about Bat Squatch. No, it was something else. It was like the Nisqually Hill Demon or something like that somebody saw back in the 70s. And, so there's there's all sorts of just weird, not just, people and characters and supposed, critters running around in the ocean or on land, but, there's, places here in Washington and, down in Oregon, like Magnetic Hill, where you can supposedly park your car at the bottom, your car will coast uphill. There's a well in eastern Washington that is supposedly bottomless. They've put, cables and weights and stuff down it, and, for however many thousands of feet, and supposedly it never touches bottom, and it's perfectly round, and how does it get there? And I think it's called like Mel's Hole or something like that.
Mel's Hole, yeah.
Yeah.
And, that's from the old Art Bell days.
Yeah.
So Art Bell, another big influence on me,
Yeah.
There's plenty of bizarre stuff, and that's just Washington. Then we get down to Portland and Oregon and Portland itself. Vince has already done an episode down there about the TARDIS room, which is in a bar somewhere, and somewhere down there. But there's enough weird stuff in Portland to have the Oregon edition of Pacific NorthWEIRD and
we definitely have some plans to do some more Portland things. Absolutely, in talks with Black Lodge Burlesque. It's a Twin Peaks themed burlesque troupe. We're going to interview them, and there's plenty of really interesting people down there. We have interviewed Clyde Lewis a couple of times, who's well known in Portland and throughout the rest of the country in the paranormal community with a Ground Zero radio show. So there's certainly some good connections, and you'll definitely see more of an Oregon presence from us in the near future now that we're kind of getting more into it.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure Tyler could do with his past experiences and what he's been doing his whole life. It could do quite a few episodes with Pacific Northwest. Pacific NorthWEIRD. Sorry, I was gonna ask Tyler. Tyler, what is like? You spent so much time in the woods. You do a lot of remote hiking, backpacking, the whole line. What is one of the most scariest, I guess, places you've been or things you've encountered out there where you felt like have you ever been out there where you just thought you had to leave or you did leave?
That it happened to me one time down there's a place kind of in between Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier called Morton, little town out there, and
I grew up there.
It's has a pretty rich Bigfoot history. There's a pretty classic story on the BFR website about some logging equipment caretakers. They would watch the equipment. They had a trailer. They pull out there, basically live out there and make sure the equipment wasn't messed with. And they saw, multiple Bigfoots, had many encounters, where describing stick structures and the sounds that they would make, and it was pretty classic. And I ended up out there one time, totally went to the wrong. I was chasing a hot Bigfoot story and hit up a friend of mine and said, hey, do you know where this is? Oh yeah, you go up this road, go up here, go up there. And so I went up there, and it was a completely wrong place, but, I didn't know it at the time. And I decided to find somewhere to camp and just hang out, and it was in this rock quarry that is actually now it's known as Werewolf Pit, I think, or Werewolf Quarry or something, because there's spray painted. I think it's a werewolf, or it could be, it's either a werewolf or some sort of monster, or very crude representation of a piece of female anatomy. I still haven't. The more I look at it, I'm like, I'm not sure if that's a werewolf, guys. It's some other kind of monster. And but I was there, and I was hanging out, sitting by my fire, and I heard a bunch of rocks. You know, something was up above and knocked a bunch of rocks and dirt loose, and, you know, or it just happens. I mean, erosion happens without anything there all the time. But then I started hearing, like, rocks being moved. You know, there was a big pile of rocks next, 30 feet away from where I was camped. And you know, hearing all these rocks, and I'm like, man, there's something over there. There's definitely something on that rock pile. I had a light, but I didn't want to shine it over there. I just kind of wanted the experience to keep on keeping on. And then I was hearing rocks clacking together, just like rhythmically, like every 2-3 seconds, just like bam, bam, and it was 40 feet away from me. I mean, right on the other side of this pile of rocks. And at first I was fascinated. I'm like, wow, this is really happening. And then it was like a switch was flipped, like dread, like scared, couldn't move, didn't want to move. I wanted to run away, started sweating, started getting very, very flatulent, which was really strange. I'm just like, whoa, 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 and which is bizarre. And I know, and way too much information, but it happened. And this was happening, and I've heard we've all heard stories about being zapped and infrasound and that sort of thing. And and it went on for probably 3 or 4 minutes. I can't remember. I had an audio recorder going, and I still have that audio somewhere, and I can't remember. It's like 3 or 4 minutes long, but then the rocks, they weren't getting smacked together as often, once every 5 seconds, once every 7 seconds, and then it just stopped, and then once again, it was like a switch was flipped, and I mean, I went from the darkest depths of fear and dread and hell to, whoa, sunshine, butterflies, rainbows, unicorns, bunnies. It was like everything was okay. It was very, very bizarre experience. I mean, it was like the dark clouds lifted and everything. I mean, it was the middle of the night, so there really wasn't rainbows and clouds and sunshine and kittens and bunnies. But it was, I mean, I was waiting for, after, reading stories and books and stuff on the BFRO website and encounters, I was waiting for a rock to come whizzing out of the dark and just brain me, and be like, game over, that was that, fun. And, but, it went, whatever it was, went away, and I relaxed my grip and on my chair. I mean, I was just like white knuckled on the arms of my chair, and then I got up and I went to bed. I mean, it was like this adrenaline dump. Just, I was suddenly exhausted. Like, I mean, it was done. That was it. Game over, and good night. And went, crawled my tent and slept. I mean, just like instantly. And of course, got up in the morning, went over, checked it out. Of course, it's all rocky. I'm in a quarry. There's no footprints. I looked for hair and any sort of sign. And it was a very, very strange experience. And I've been to Morton dozens of times since then. And, we've started doing BFRO expeditions in that exact same area. Had weird stuff, happen out there in the woods, playing audio of whale songs into the woods. And then we heard the sounds of whales coming back out of the woods, which was one of the crazier things I've ever experienced doing any of this. Like, was that a whale? Did anybody else just hear a whale? And that wasn't an echo. I mean, how do you explain that? I have no idea. But I think that's the only time because I've spent a lot of time in the woods and I don't spook easy. I mean,
right.
There's bears around. I've dealt with bears. I've been face to face with brown bears up in Alaska. There's always cougars around. You just kind of deal with it. I mean, the scariest thing that happened to me in the woods is when I run into another human with that wild look in his eyes, and I can see that gun on his hip, and he's, all wiggity, and it's like, that's what scares the crap out of me is, when I run into other people that I don't know, and they're sketchy, and like, I'd much rather be dealing with the cougar right now, because at least they're somewhat predictable. And you, my friend, I have no idea what you've got going on. I don't care about your meth lab. You got a grow operation. Hey, more power to you. Rock it. But other than that time, not that I can think of.
Well, you bring
off the
up
top of my head.
Yeah, you bring up a fascinating, thing, and I don't want to label it anything your experience, but, do you think you were, quote unquote, zapped? How many? I know you've interviewed people that claim to have been zapped, or one of the new words is called being sizzled. But I mean,
right.
Is that a possibility? Do you believe in that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I believe. I mean, there's a lot of animals. There's, biological precedents for infrasound. Tigers use it. Whales use it to communicate. Elephants use it to communicate. Even alligators, will use infrasounds for something. I've seen videos of them under the water and just, the water just starts to like dance and ripple and crazy, and they're doing, something. Whether it's to stun fish or communicate with other crocodiles or it's just a cool trick. Hey, look what I can do. So, I think there's definitely a biological precedent for it. So, and I've read lots of reports of, people, they hear some noise, the deer were spooked, then all of a sudden the deer is just frozen, the Bigfoot walks up, bonks it on the head and walks off with it. And, but yeah, and I've talked to tons of people, I've been zapped, and I've talked to other people, I've been zapped 40-something times, I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, there was something going on. It hasn't happened to me since. It had never happened to me before. And, there's an explanation, because like I said, I don't scare easily. Spend a lot of time in the woods, and I'm totally cool with being inferior in the woods. I don't pack guns. I rarely, sometimes I'll have a knife or a Leatherman or, something like that. And, but hey, if a bear wants to come up and, do what it's going to do, then, that's the cycle of life and Hakuna Matata. But, it takes, not that I'm super Grizzly Adams or anything, but, things happen out in the woods and you just kind of deal with it. And, but, that was something I've never dealt with before, haven't dealt with since, and not really sure what it was, but it was definitely freaky, and it was unnatural. It was
right, and
not
I was going to say, as much as we think we know about the world around us, and specifically the animals around us, we know nothing. They're still finding out things about your basic canine, your dogs, that are mind blowing to me. We think we know just because we've been around for thousands of years with dogs and whatnot. They're still finding out things about canines that science had no idea, and that's what we know. But maybe something out there like a Sasquatch, what are they capable of? It's mind-boggling to me that we know so little about just the stuff we do know about.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's definitely, if they are capable of it, which, I totally believe that they could be. And, it's interesting to me that it seems to be the biggest animals in their relative ecosystem. Elephants, whales, tigers. Bears might be able to do it, just we haven't observed it.
Right.
Lions, crocodiles. It has something, has some sort of evolutionary advantage or, a predatory advantage, or communication, and all of which Sasquatches need, because they're, I don't think there's as many Bigfoots out there as a lot of people think there are. Otherwise, there'd be a lot more reports. And, who knows if somebody's seeing the same one over and over, because they are mobile and portable, and they kind of, they do what they want and go where they want. So, if they want to communicate, go up to a mountaintop and put out their Squatch signal and, wait for a response, that'd be the best way to do it without attracting attention to themselves or, and if their main prey is deer, elk, that sort of thing, which are, really, fast and fleet-footed animals, the best way to catch something fast is just stun it from the get-go and, walk up and clunk, game over, see you later, deer. And so it totally makes sense to me that they would have that capability. But, what happened to me, I don't know. What's happened to other people, I don't know. I've been with other people out on walks when they just drop to the ground and and I'm 5 feet away from them, and I'm not feeling anything. So I think it's pretty fascinating that it can be focused like that, and somebody right next to them has no ill effects while I'm watching this woman grabbing her stomach feels like an accordion going on in my gut, and I'm like, wow, what did you have for dinner? Because I've got nothing going on. And so it's really bizarre. It's a bizarre phenomenon. Not that all this Bigfootiness isn't bizarre enough, but
right.
Throw that stuff in on top of it. Like, okay, kudos, Bigfoot, you got it going on.
Back in 2011 when I had my encounter, I didn't experience zapping. I experienced what I call extreme fear, where I was sitting in my tent and was dealing with something unknown. And when I came to the realization of possibly what I was dealing with, I was freaked out. I had two buddies with me, and they were freaked out. And I felt paralyzed at one moment, but it wasn't like I felt zapped. I felt like I shouldn't move. My mind was messing with me. We had, rock come into camp and the whole nine, whatever. But it was freaky. And I remember, in my head, okay, you're alive. Nothing bad's really happening. You're experiencing something. And I walked myself out of it. I never felt zapped, but I did feel panic and fear, and I don't mind saying that because I hadn't dealt with anything like that before on that level. And so, but I never rule out the possibility of infrasound and whatnot. Tigers use it, and like you said, a lot of other big mammals use it. It's just a fascinating topic, and I've talked to others that have, even a lot of people I respect, that have, felt this way. So it's something I can't rule out. And it's strange. You guys should do an episode on that, because that would be to interview people like that would be to get their feel on it. I read a report a while back of this guy that was in the woods that he nothing to do with Bigfoot. He was cycling, and for some reason he got off his bike and he stripped down naked, and he didn't know what he was doing, but he felt like he had no control, and he felt paralyzed. And I believe they had come across some sort of Bigfoot-related evidence, tracks or something, and they kind of tied the things together. But this guy did something completely out of the norm for himself, and his friends were like, "What the frick is this guy doing?"
Yeah, see, that's the guy we need to get on the show right there.
Yeah,
that would be a very cool episode, actually. Like strange psychological moments of the Northwest.
Yeah,
that's and it is interesting how many stories I've heard of, hunters, out in the woods, experienced woodsmen, experienced outdoorsmen who have a gun, who have lots of ammo, and, they start getting that feel of fear, dread, impending doom, just freaked out, and they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm gone.
Yeah.
And, and they're not, wimpy little dudes like, let's run home. It's dark in the woods, and I'm outside. Time to, run back to the house.
Yeah.
And it's
Derek
like,
Randall.
Derek Randall
has spoke about this. Derek Randall spoke about this. It's like hitting a wall, and he's not saying he was petrified, but it was like he hit a a wall and or something, saying, basically, he felt like he should turn around. He didn't see anything, but it just got this feeling like he was in a bad situation, a bad spot, and he should leave. And he listened to that, that sixth sense or whatever you want to call it. There were, I don't know what you want to call it, but, and I've experienced that before. Like I just felt impending doom, or, I'm in a bad spot, a bad area, something I couldn't figure out what it was, but I won't call it zapped or anything, but just a premonition almost. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely think there's something to it, and especially with people who aren't familiar with Bigfoot lore, Bigfoot mysteries, or even biological facts. When they're describing the same thing, like I was frozen, I couldn't move, I was paralyzed, I was freaked out, and they're describing the same thing. That are we more susceptible to it because we know about it? Like, I might get zapped. Woohoo! I might get zapped tonight. Great. And, well, lo and behold, then all of a sudden you're zapped. And okay, yeah, sure. But I definitely think that there's something to that whole phenomenon, and it kind of makes me wish it would happen again, so I can be more subjective about it, and so when I know it's happening, like, okay, this is happening. That's kind of what happened to me, the first time, when I'm like, oh yeah, this is that I've read about, so write it out, because you always hear, man, I was freaked out, I packed up my stuff and I left, just abandoned my camp, and I just sat there and gripped my chair like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna write it, and hopefully that boulder doesn't come out of the darkness and just squish me, and so, and maybe the Bigfoot was like, okay, this guy, it's not working on this guy for some reason, so I'm going to go somewhere else, whatever.
Yeah.
Stupid human. And so.
You sure Bigfoot didn't pick up on the flatulence?
that could have been. That could have, like,
that might have
that.
run him off right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Who's zapped who, Bigfoot? Huh? Yeah, that's right. Yep, I have superpowers too. Damn it.
That's right. So, Tyler and Vince, what direction and what are your future plans with Pacific North Weird? Where do you hope to see it go? And
well, we want to get it out for even more people to see. Even outside of YouTube, that's just starting to happen. We are now on the Secret Sundays part of a Roku channel called OSI 74. It's led by the host of Cinema Insomnia, Mr. Lobo. It's a cool indie channel out there. I think we're back to back with a show run by a former member of GWAR, I believe. And
what? GWAR? Dude, you never told me that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, well, if you did, I forgot. Because that's awesome.
I'm telling you now.
It's probably during one of your many excursions to the bar that you may have told you. So.
Yeah, we're looking. I feel we're just getting better and better. We're making better productions. There's a certain synergy among our group, which is becoming more and more cohesive every time we do it. We're having more fun doing it, and that really makes it a better show. Like I think fun leads through, and you can tell we're having a really great time doing it. So where I want the show to go is just I want to continue on the direction that it's going.
We have nowhere to go but up.
Well, I've watched a few episodes, and I have always enjoyed Tyler's sense of humor, but you guys are a kick in the ass. I mean, kick in the pants with what your approach to chasing down weird stuff in the Pacific Northwest. So,
thank you.
I appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing there. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, for the uninitiated, where do they find? Now, I'm sure there's people that are going to want to go check out Pacific NorthWEIRD.
Right.
Where is the easy place to find you?
We have a really simple YouTube address. It's just youtube.com/Pacific NorthWEIRD, all one word. You can find us that way. And any questions or tips you have for shows that we could do in the future, PacificNorthWEIRD@gmail.com.
And you're also
there's a
can be found right on Facebook.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You can also be found on. They do have a Facebook page. Pacific
yes, we do have a Facebook page.
Go give them a like, and you can find stuff there. So that's cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're on Twitter too, isn't there a Twitter?
We are on Twitter also. Yeah.
Can't forget Twitter.
And
in case anybody wants to tweet us.
Don't forget Twitter. I think that's all we're on. Well, we're on Instagram also.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, nice.
They're
cool.
dialed into social media, so you can check them out there. And if you can subscribe to their channel so that you won't miss any new episodes. And I am a subscriber, by the way, so
awesome.
Check out.
And we do have we have our Bigfoot episode that we're currently working on and adding to all the time. We interviewed a guy who made a movie called Valley of the Sasquatch. Interviewed the director. Vince and I went and saw the movie, and it was great. It was funny. Funny and great. And I think other Bigfoot people will really, I picked up on quite a few things that he, kind of weaseled in there that, some that hardcore Bigfooters will definitely pick up on, like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
so,
Easter eggs.
Yeah, and, we were just at the Sasquatch Summit. I think we interviewed both of you guys, or Gunner. Did we interview Shane? Did you interview Shane?
No, you guys missed out. Let me tell you, you guys missed out.
I interviewed Guy Edwards at the summit.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, you didn't interview? Oh, I thought you got Gunner too. Sorry, Gunner.
No, I didn't.
But that's okay.
But yeah, Guy will take up a couple episodes easy.
Yeah, Guy could be his own whole episode of Pacific NorthWEIRD.
Yeah, not just Guy, but we interviewed Tom Powell as well, so you know how entertaining that could be.
Oh, fantastic!
Well, I don't know. I mean, it could just be, I don't know. It could be, I don't know. Anybody? I need a beer. I love Tom. I love Tom.
That was pretty dead on there, though.
I've had a lot of Tom experiences, and when we were interviewing, he was like, "You better do it quick, 'cause I'm going to start drinking pretty soon." Like, okay, wait, maybe we should wait until after he starts drinking, because it's even better. So,
I think
Tom, if you're listening,
drinking happy hour with Tom Powell episode would just be brilliant.
There you go. Dude, we could totally. Oh, that should be a new bit. Happy hour with Tom Powell, and just like that.
Let's do it.
Just
Tom,
get him soused and
get a hold of me.
Get
a hold of Tyler. We pay for all the drinks. You just have to sit there and talk. It's cool, man. Cameras aren't even there. Just pretend nothing's there.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. So, and when is the next Hopsquatch?
Not till next year.
January.
It's next year, probably February, March. February, March, sometime then.
Okay.
Guys, last one was with the infamous, Matthew Johnson, Mr. Portal.
Yeah.
So I don't know when the next one is, but it'll be early next year.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. But
right after we left the East Eddy Ranch out there at Mount Adams, we went straight to the Hopsquatch, the town hall Hopsquatch there in Portland. And so, definitely coming out of one weird thing and into another.
That was a great weekend.
Right. Well, guys, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Thank you, Tyler and Vince. And we wish you all the best with the Pacific NorthWEIRD, and we will follow you guys and help promote you guys. You guys are doing fantastic stuff. Really interesting, and I know this. Your what you guys are doing. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. So kudos to you guys, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
Shane.
me. I had a great time.
Oh,
absolutely.
Pleasure. And we'll have you back on soon. We can talk to you guys for days. So, and hopefully down the road, we will have you guys back on.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Great. You guys have a good night, and thank you for joining us.
You too. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Hey, Shane. So we got a few minutes left.
Wow, what a show. These guys are fantastic.
Yeah. Seriously, I've watched some of their shows already, and they have that quirky sense of humor thing that like for me is like really cool. I mean, I've known Tyler for quite a while, and he's a screwball, but as most of us in bigfooting are. And I get the whole disappointment with Tyler's, excuse me, with what happened with the grandpa's story, but we're happy that it led you down the path that it did, Tyler, and we were able to meet you and have you on Monster X today because your grandpa tricked you with the fake footprint. So
yeah,
kudos to Grandpa.
Yes. Well,
so
good.
Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about your upcoming appearance at this conference that Matthew Johnson's doing. There's been some negative stuff, but mostly positive stuff. But there's been some, or at least questions as to your being included in this.
Yeah, what I was asked. The big question is why? Why would you you agree to? First of all, I was kind of shocked that Matt invited me to speak at his conference. And we had a little bit of back and forth about it because, I'm an aper. I think that what we're dealing with, my personal experience has been that what we're dealing with is a terrestrial, biological animal. Am I open to the possibility of there's some, they have some attributes that aren't easily explained? I am to some degree. I always think of there's a sliding scale of from hardcore aper to on one end to interdimensional flying UFO pilot on the other end, and I'm really close to the aper end until I don't discount anybody else's experience that they've had, but that's just something for me personally. Until I experience it, that would be something I have to experience to embrace. So the conversation, Matt, told me that I could talk about whatever I wanted to, and which I intend to, and that I'd be welcome with open arms. Which I'll believe that when I see it, because honestly, it's a different kind of. He refers to it as the habituation conference, and but all the other speakers are coming from a quote-unquote paranormal side of Bigfooting. I'm going to represent the apers, and that is my perspective. Unless something changes between now and April. So,
right.
Unless I'm whisked away in a UFO or a step through.
No, and that's respectful, and I believe that you may not be a popular person at that conference per se, but it takes a lot of cojones to enter that sort of arena and give your 2 cents, and I commend that.
Well, I consider the same thing for a lot of. I have friends, that are on the other side of the fence, and have presented in a similarly hostile environment where it's predominantly apers. So I guess I can go out on a limb a little bit for to represent the apers in this arena. So
right.
Yeah. I understand that some people don't get feel like I'm endorsing whatever Matt Johnson is putting out there as fact, and I am not in any way, shape, or form. So to be clear.
Yeah. Well, we're down to a few seconds here. I just want to say that there are no experts in this field. I know it's been said before, but I want to just say that out there. There's no experts in this field, and so we're all learning, and hopefully can get to the truth of things. And thank you for joining us, everybody. Yeah, thank you for joining us. We've actually ended our show now, but I'll continue on a little bit and say that, there are no experts, and I'm an aper as well, if that's what you want to call an aper, or at least I believe this Sasquatch phenomenon is revolved around a physical being, a flesh and blood creature that I've not to this day seen anything paranormal, and I spend hundreds and thousands of hours in the woods a year and not experienced anything like this. But I'm open, and that's ever the scenario, I may just bounce. But right now, everything I've encountered and seen has been to the contrary.
Absolutely. I mean, and like I say, though this is not both of us share a perspective of that this is a terrestrial being, biological and based. We respectfully agree to disagree with our friends that see them as something other than that. So, and that's And again, I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, of course. Right now, I don't consider myself wrong, just not in cahoots with that sort of stuff, but I will, continue to do, and, I've probably talked about this way too much, but, those like Jane Goodall and whatnot that were some of the entrepreneurs in their field, those are the people I respect, and that's who I try to mimic as best I can. And I know a lot of I say me, but there's a lot of other researchers doing the same thing, and enthusiasts for that matter. And, about the truth, I'm all about the truth. And like Tyler Bounds today on our show, he could have not mentioned that little tidbit that he just found out recently from his aunt. He didn't have to mention it, but he did. And that speaks volumes about Tyler Bounds and his endeavors and about his personality. And that's, that's exactly what I love about individuals like that. And that's what I try to mimic. There's no need to lie about the subject. If you're about the truth and you're really about researching and getting to the answers, you really try to lay a foundation of truth. No matter what that entails and no matter what the conclusions are, that's what we're about.
All right. Well, it's great, as always, chatting with you, Shane, and I appreciate Tyler and Vince coming on today and being on the show, and all of the listeners that have joined us today. And by the way, this was kind of a banner week for Monster X. Our Facebook group has grown to over 7,000 members, so welcome to all the new people that have come on board. Let us know what you think. Talk with us in the Facebook group, and we look forward to providing you with great shows in the future. So for Shane Corson and myself, Gunnar Monson, we appreciate you, and we will be back next Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Monster X Radio. Good night, everybody.